Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Nerdy Movie News Roundup, the show where we round up all of the latest news in the world of nerdy movies. We have a lot to get through today, so let's just get into it. First up, we have a trailer for The Continental. If you don't know, this is a show coming to Peacock. It is a prequel to John Wick. It follows Winston as a young lad. And they showed off the trailer a few months ago, and I was like, I don't really know what this is. I'm not sure if I'm into this, but this official trailer that just came out is a lot better. You really get a grasp of the personality, the unique personality that the movie's gonna have compared to the John Wick movies. It feels a lot more like there's a lot more like theatrics and grandiosity to it all that I didn't get from that first teaser. The fights look actually pretty good. I don't know. I'm not gonna say that they look as good as the John Wick movies, but they look solid. Like the series looks like it'll at least be pretty fun. So yeah, I'm probably gonna check this out. So let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. Another trailer that came out was the reveal trailer for TMNT: The Last Ronin. This is a game based on a mini series, I believe, of the same name, TMNT: The Last Ronin. And from what I understand, this is just some light reading that I've done about it. It takes place in the future where 3 of the Ninja Turtles have been killed, and there's only one of them remaining. And I believe it's like a big reveal when you find out who it is, so they don't actually like tell you who the turtle is. Now, I read an article that very casually spoiled it for me, so I kind of know, but I won't say it here because I am more considerate than journalists apparently. So yeah, the teaser didn't show us too much. It was really more of a teaser, just letting people know that it's happening. And I have to say, I really don't like these kinds of video game trailers where it's like they clearly aren't ready to show anything from the game, but there's like a game showcase that the studio has to do, so they just have to throw something out there. It's like, I remember when Bethesda was doing a games showcase and they were like, hey guys, we're here to announce Elder Scrolls 6. And they'd literally done no work on the game, but they just like had to announce it because they needed content for their like Bethesda showcase or whatever. So I really dislike these teasers where it's like there's no gameplay. There aren't even cinematics, really. It's just, this game is in development now. It's like, you completely waste the hype from a first announcement on this, because sure, people are hyped about it now, but that hype is going to go away, and then in 2 years when you're actually ready to reveal the game, people are going to be like, oh yeah, that TMNT game that they revealed, okay, I guess it's coming out now. So I don't know, I feel like it's silly to do this, but we will see. All right, first story of the day. We actually have an episode count for Creature Commandos. So this was a thread. Is that what like posts on threads are called? Is a singular post on threads a thread? I don't know, but this is an interaction on threads. Somebody asked James Gunn, do you already have an idea for the runtime on Superman Legacy or Creature Commandos on how many episodes it'll be? Then James Gunn responded. He said, Creature Commandos Season 1 is 7 episodes. And then somebody responded to that, and they asked, Sean is his brother, Sean Gunn, said in a convention that he didn't have any upcoming projects he still had to act in. Does that mean the voice acting has been finalized? And he says yes. So, just a couple of new details on that. It seems like Creature Commandos will be 7 episodes. I have to say, I'm getting a little tired of these little baby seasons of television. You know, Disney Plus does these like lame 6-episode limited series or like event series. And, you know, on the Disney Plus side of things, those tend to be pretty unremarkable and just they either feel like movies that are way too long, or they feel like series that don't have enough time to cook. But then again, Peacemaker, I think, was like 8 episodes, and that was good. My hope for this is that it ends up being more like Invincible, where like the episodes for Invincible were like 50 minutes long. So I remember that was really neat to see for an animated series. But I don't know. At the end of the day, it's not like you can make. I'm like you could make a good six episode season of television. Disney just can't do that apparently. And it's also good to hear that they're done with like the voice acting on the show, and that seemingly this isn't going to be impacted by the strikes. Although, even with that being said, I'm excited to watch Creature Commandos, but also studios pay your actors and writers fairly. You know? Next story. Oops. Next story. We got some information about the post-credits scenes for Blue Beetle. No spoilers, don't worry. So there was a tweet that this guy tweeted out where he like attended a fan screening or something for the movie, and if you read the last sentence here, it says no spoilers but 2 post-credit scenes because there's more story to tell. So interesting that Blue Beetle is going to have 2 post-credit scenes. So we're kind of in a weird limbo where James Gunn says that Blue Beetle is going to be the first character in the DCU, so technically this is the first DCU movie, but nothing that post-credit scenes could possibly tease could necessarily, or most likely not give us any oh geez, I'm sorry, I'm dying over here. The post-credit scenes most likely won't tell us anything about the DCU because I don't think they haven't filmed anything for Superman Legacy. I highly doubt that. I don't know. It's just interesting, like what they could possibly be teasing. I guess they can tease future stories that are like self-contained to Blue Beetle. Like I don't know, maybe like Ted Kord shows up in one of the post-credit scenes. So I guess it's going to be more along that side. Like I don't think we're going to see like David Corn Sweat's Superman pop up or anything like that. But who knows? Maybe we do. All right, next story. Sticking with Blue Beetle, let's talk about the box office for the movie. This is coming from Deadline. Recently, Warner Brothers DC's Blue Beetle hit tracking with an eye on a $30 million start when it opens on August 18th. The Angel Manuel Soto directed pick is very hot with Latino and Hispanic moviegoers. So I just copy and pasted this from Deadline. I don't know what Natch means. Right now on tracking, the movie's unaided awareness, that section of polling whereby moviegoers aren't prompted on upcoming movies, rather name them independently when polled, is soaring above that of Sony's Gran Turismo. True, this projection right now is lower than the $55 million start of The Flash, which didn't see a huge turnout by its cast to promote, and Shazam Fury of the Gods, $30.1 million, but note movies aimed at Hispanic and Latino moviegoers can over-index in their first weekends due to walk-up business. So I don't know how I feel about that whole thing where apparently it's a Latino and Hispanic thing to not pre-order tickets. I guess that's a trend. I never really heard of that, but either way, the movie is tracking to earn $30 million in its opening weekend. That's better than what it was tracking a couple weeks ago. I believe we probably talked about it on the show that the movie was tracking like $12 to $17 million in its opening weekend, which would have been horrible. $30 million isn't good either, but it is an improvement. So let's actually take a look at some of the other opening weekend box offices for DC movies recently. So we have The Flash, which opened to $55 million and went on to gross $268 million worldwide. We've also seen Shazam 2 open up to $30 million and gross $133 million worldwide. So, that obviously doesn't bode well for Blue Beetle. But, I mean, if we want to be on the optimistic side of things, this summer, Elemental opened. Elemental opened to just $29 million worldwide, but, it had got good word of mouth, it had really good legs, and it ended up with $425 million worldwide. Now, Elemental had the advantage of being an animated, family-friendly Pixar movie. I don't know that Blue Beetle could necessarily have the same legs. I do think it's going to run into the general audience is not really being interested in the DCU right now. So I don't know. I hope that it can have legs like an Elemental, and maybe reach like at least 300 million something dollars. That would be like okay if it were to reach that. I think if it were to reach like 400 something $million, I think that would be an unmitigated just surprise. You know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll see. With it being the first DCU character, like James Gunn has said that that's the case, but I feel like if this movie flops, like really flops, like it's kind of being projected to, I I don't know that he will carry him over. I feel like at that point he might really just want to start fresh with Superman Legacy, but who really knows at the end of the day? Next story. How to Train Your Dragon remake has been delayed. It's coming from Screen Daily. Universal Pictures' How to Train Your Dragon and Orion Pictures and Plan B's Hida, starring Tessa Thompson, have both delayed the start of production in the UK as a result of the ongoing SAG-AFTRA strike. The live-action version of the 2010 feature animation How to Train Your Dragon was due to start filming in Belfast's Titanic Studios from August. It was slated for a March 2025 release. So the production start has been delayed. Yeah, I don't know about... I don't know if this movie is going to end up hitting that March 2025 release date, because who knows how long the strike is going to go on for. I mean, we're really starting to get the delays and stops and whatnot are really starting to heat up, and depending on how long the strike goes on for, we could end up experiencing another COVID like hit to the film industry. If because of the strikes, studios just aren't able to make movies, and obviously the easy answer to this is for studios to pay their actors and writers fairly. Pretty simple, right? Apparently not. But yeah, we will see what happens with that. Next story. David Ayer has been pretty explicitly saying that his Ayer cut of Suicide Squad may actually see the light of day. So these are some tweets that he put out. This is the first one. He was quote tweeting a guy having like an argument with somebody else. You don't really need to know the context of that. We'll just read David Ayer's tweet. What's your advice on how to navigate the situation with grace? There's a genuine curiosity and interest from a lot of people, and I'm aware of... God, David Ayer is really bad. He's a really bad writer, but okay. And I'm aware of another group of people that have fun mocking the film. Your comment is a perfect example of how many are magnetically drawn to the 2016 film in a negative way. Have you ever had an experience in life that didn't turn out the way you wanted, that dragged you, that made you rethink everything? I have. All I know is my unseen film plays much better than the studio release. The interest in my cut being shown seems real and organic, and Gunn told me it would have its time to be shared. He obviously deserves to launch his DC universe without more drama about old projects. In a way, I'm chained to this thing. I'm riding a tiger here and navigating this situation the best I can. Life is a strange journey. Welcome to my TED Talk. And then his second tweet that I think is interesting is he quote tweeted a guy saying, there's a whole string of news articles dropping saying that James Gunn is planning to release the Ayercut before the start of the DCU. Any truth here, James? So James apparently liked that tweet and then quote tweeted the guy being like, hey, look, David Ayer liked my tweet. Maybe this is true. And then he quote tweeted it and just said, silly rumor, not true. So basically from what we can take with that, what David Ayer is saying is that James Gunn told him that his cut will be released, but that it's going to have to wait until after the DCU gets started. So I guess we're probably not going to see it until late 2025 and afterwards. unless we count Blue Beetle as the start of the DCU, maybe then some point between Blue Beetle and Creature Commandos it could also release. I don't actually know. But, I mean, listen, he is explicitly saying that it is going to be released. Now, we're going to get to some Gal Gadot shenanigans later, but we have not heard any official reports denying this. So for now, I'm going to assume that David Ayer isn't a filthy, stinking liar and that it's going to be released. And I think that's pretty cool. You know, the 2016 theatrical cut of Suicide Squad truly is just like one of the most obvious studio meddled movies. It is just one of the most despicable pieces of media that I've ever consumed, you know. I mean, it's awful. It truly is awful. So I'm down to see what David Ayer's vision of the movie was. There are certain aspects of it that I don't buy are much better in his cut, like this idea that, oh no, don't worry, Jared Leto really gave a great performance as Joker. You just didn't see the right movie. It's like, he was probably bad. It was David Ayer's decision to tattoo damaged on his forehead, you know. So I doubt that. At the end of the day, I'm all for artists having their artistic visions be realized. Speaking of artistic visions not being realized, Disney is starting an AI task force. We'll read this from comicbook.com. Disney has reportedly formed a task force to look into its usage of artificial intelligence in upcoming projects across the company. First reported by Reuters, it said the mouse formed the task force prior to this year's Hollywood strikes as an attempt to embrace the technology in a changing landscape. According to the initial report, one Disney source says the company must take advantage of AI or risk obsolescence. Obviously, I don't want AI involved in art, really. I mean, I've heard some people say that, oh, well, AI is just a tool that artists can use, and sure, but like, obviously what I'm saying is like, I don't want a future where artists are, you know, not being hired and we're like consuming art conceived by AI. Like that's, you know what I mean when I say that, and that's just not appealing to me. Like when I consume a piece of art, I want to consume something that like a human being conceived of. I want to see their vision. I want to see their perspective on things. AI is just inherently soulless to me. And I mean, that's my perspective. The other perspective is also artists would be put out of jobs, obviously. Now, maybe AI can be used in a way that like it's just like for like managing stuff for like non-creative things in the Disney Corporation. Sure, maybe. But when we're talking about things that are creative, I simply have no interest in consuming AI art. But hey, that's just me. Next story. David Harbour said something kind of interesting about Creature Commandos. This is coming from comicbook.com. I didn't know what it was when it was sent to me. I met with James and he sort of laid out a lot of stuff. It's really exciting. Harbour began. He considers it some of the best stuff he's ever written. It's hilarious and the character is great. I think it's been announced that it's Frankenstein and it's a very colorful, terrific character. So yeah, we've started to shoot stuff, he continued. I'm not one to really break, but during this, it is wildly funny stuff. So yeah, we're shooting. It's hilarious and I can't wait for people to see it. So if you can't tell what's kind of off about that statement, Creature Commandos was announced as an animated series. But when David Harbour refers to him, what I would assume is recording lines of dialogue, he referred to it as shooting stuff. So I'm sure that I am just reading way too far into his words and that it is truly not that deep. But could Creature Commandos have some element of live action to it? Or, I don't know, maybe a voice actor is watching this and can let me know. do like voice actors refer to recording their lines of dialogue? Like, would they refer to that as shooting things? Like on a like what we would see in a traditional film or like live action film. I I don't know. So I just wanted to point that out because I thought it was kind of interesting. I'm sure he either just misspoke or I just don't understand the lingo here in Hollywood. But I just want to point that out. So we'll see we'll see what comes from that, I should say. Next story. Sydney Sweeney is apparently playing Spider-Woman in Madam Web. This is coming from Variety. Madam Web will premiere in February with Sweeney playing Julia Carpenter, who in the comics becomes Spider-Woman, opposite Dakota Johnson's titular superhero. When she booked the role, I was freaking out, of course, Sweeney recalls. I went straight to the comic store and I bought every comic that mentioned my character. Although box office returns for superhero films have been slowing down, Sweeney is confident Madam Web will break through. I think it's different from what people expect a superhero movie to be, she hints. Quote that. That's a quote, because the tabloids will pick up everything else we talk about. When asked if she hopes her character will have an expanded role in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Sweeney gives a coy yes before taking a long sip of tea. Question about potential standalone Spider-Woman movies is met with a shrug as Sweeney smiles knowingly. So what's interesting about all of that is that, first of all, a spider person is going to be in Madam Web. That immediately makes me more interested in the movie. I mean, when it comes to the Sony Venom verse, Spider Verse, I think, what is the official name of it? The Sony Universe of Marvel characters or something like that. There are a lot of problems with those movies. The primary one being that they're not good. But another issue with those movies that I've had is that there's a lack of Spider-Man. It's like, okay, Venom and Morbius are running around. They're not interacting with Spider-Man. It's a little weird. So for sure, having a spider person in Madam Web, even though it's not Spider-Man, is still pretty cool and inherently makes me more excited for the movie. And on top of the other interesting thing there is that Variety asked her about her being a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, maybe this is just an interview where not necessarily being too in the weeds with the terminology, but the Marvel Cinematic Universe is in reference to the MCU, right? Where we have Iron Man and Captain America and all that and whatnot. So it's and she said that she nodded that she'd like to be in it, and then she sipped her tea suspiciously or whatever. So I have not looked into this at all, but one of the things that I've read about is that Julia Carpenter, that iteration of Spider-Woman, is somehow involved in Secret Wars somehow. So maybe this leads into a multiverse situation, which will drop her or have her interact with the MCU. Maybe have this character show up in Avengers Secret Wars somehow. I don't know. I don't know about any of that, but just figured I'd throw it all out there. But yeah, either way, automatically more interested in Madam Web, a movie that I haven't really been interested in up to this point. So let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. Next story. Deadpool 3 is seemingly delayed. This is coming from comicbook.com. Let me drink a sip of water, though, because my throat is parched. Gotta stay hydrated, folks. While they seem to be rushing to very close to completing production before the actors went on strike last month, it now appears possible Deadpool 3 will not hit its original release date. During a call with investors yesterday, Disney presented a number of their big upcoming plans, and Deadpool 3 was nowhere to be found on the calendar. Currently expected to see release on May 3rd, 2023, Deadpool 3 is absent from a theatrical release calendar, which runs through the release of Inside Out in June. Disney did not comment on the change yesterday, and nobody seemed to catch it at the investors' call. So yeah, interesting. Disney apparently showed their investors a release calendar without Deadpool 3. I think this makes sense, they had to pause filming the movie, and by the time they get back, who knows when that's going to be. even if it's resolved quickly, it's one of those things where Ryan Reynolds is obviously like a really busy actor, so it's like you can't just get him immediately back in. I'm sure he has like other commitments that he'll have to work through, and it's probably going to be difficult to start filming again. So I don't see this as a surprise at all. So yeah, we'll just have to see when they are able to finish filming. Although, and it should be noted that the film has not been officially delayed; it's just been seemingly delayed, and that is the same here for Echo. Let's read from comicbook.com. Wednesday, the Walt Disney Company held an earnings call to discuss financial results from the company's third quarter. In an accompanying presentation deck, the series touted key upcoming shows on both Disney Plus and Hulu, and Echo found itself not listed amongst its peers. While Lucasfilm's Ahsoka and Marvel Studios' Loki Season 2 were included on the listing, Echo was omitted entirely because, despite being scheduled to debut on the streamer just days after the Tom Hiddleston starring series wraps. So, this is a situation very much like Wolverine, where it was just like in an investor thing where Disney just didn't have it on the release calendar. But this one is a little bit more suspicious because, as far as I understand it, Echo is actually done filming. So there's literally no real reason to take it off the calendar. Maybe it's going to end up being the case that, they want to sort of delay or like spread out their Marvel content, since they're obviously not able to film any right now. But I would not be shocked if they just shelved Echo if this ended up being a Batgirl situation. Because, listen, man, Marvel is not in a great spot right now. Like they need the content that they put out to be great. After Secret Invasion, it really just felt like it's been feeling like this for a while now, but there just really seems to be just an apathy towards the MCU right now. And releasing a mediocre to bad Echo show will just not help that situation. So, if this show is amazing, obviously they're going to release it. But if this show is as mediocre to bad as things like Secret Invasion and Hawkeye and stuff like that, I don't know. I would not be surprised if this got shelved. But we shall see. Again, important to note, has not been officially delayed. All right. Next up, Gal Gadot is potentially fibbing. Somebody's fibbing here. Let's talk about it. So, last week we talked about Gal Gadot's comments of her coming back, seemingly, like she said it pretty directly. So let's read through some of those comments and then get into the updated information. So, Gal Gadot said this in an interview with comicbook.com. I love portraying Wonder Woman, she said. It's so close to and dear to my heart. From what I heard from James and from Peter is that we're gonna develop a Wonder Woman 3 together. She later did an interview with Flaunt where she said, I was invited to a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran, Gadot said, and what they told me, and I'm quoting, you're in the best hands. We're going to develop Wonder Woman 3 with you. We love you as Wonder Woman. You've got nothing to worry about. She did not stutter there. I mean, she is very directly saying that James Gunn and Peter Safran directly told her that. So let's get into what Variety is reporting now. So we're reading this from Variety. Despite recent comments from Gal Gadot claiming DC heads James Gunn and Peter Safran told her they would develop Wonder Woman 3 together, sources with knowledge of the situation tell Variety that is not the case. According to the sources, a third Wonder Woman film is not in development at DC Studios, nor do Gunn and Safran have plans at this time for any Wonder Woman project in the new DC universe, other than their previously announced Paradise Lost prequel series for Max. The sources added to Variety that nothing was ever promised to Gadot regarding Wonder Woman 3, nor was there any definitive discussion of Gadot's Wonder Woman continuing with the new DC universe. So, these are directly conflicting each other. Somebody's fibbing here. These really are the possibilities, right? Gal Gadot is just straight up lying. She's gone psychotic. I don't know. James Gunn lied to her. Maybe they were just trying to like keep her happy or something. I don't know. Or I guess this is possible. It could just be a massive misunderstanding. Maybe James Gunn sort of put her down in such a way that they just muddied the situation further and left her thinking that there was going to be a Wonder Woman movie when there wasn't going to be one in the first place. But if I'm being completely honest, I don't think either of these parties have much incentive to lie. Like, Gal Gadot has no reason to lie, because it's like, if you lie, it's just going to come out anyways. Like, the truth is going to come out that there isn't going to be a Wonder Woman movie, at least starring her. If James Gunn lied to her, it's like, why? There's no point in doing that, because then she's going to go out and say that there's a Wonder Woman movie when there isn't going to be one. It's just weird. So, as I've been thinking about this throughout the week, I think that the most likely situation here is that there was just some kind of misunderstanding. James Gunn probably worded her dismissal in a way that left her thinking that she was still going to be on there. So, at the end of the day, none of us are in any of these rooms. We don't know how these conversations actually went down. But at the end of the day, I'm sorry, but Gal not coming back as Wonder Woman is a W. I just don't think she can act. I'm sorry. She's just not a good actress. And Wonder Woman, kind of an important character in DC. Me personally, I would like to see a Wonder Woman that can act. Maybe that's too much to ask for. So I really didn't want to see her come back. And I mean, listen, even aside from that, which is my biggest reason for her not wanting to see her back, it would have just been way too confusing. It's like, if you're doing a reboot, do a reboot. You can't bring back Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman and have her standing next to David Cornsweat's Superman. It just wouldn't work. I feel like that actually would confuse general audiences. Like, I don't think you should be bringing back people like Peacemaker and, Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. I think even that's a mistake. But that's, like, you can probably get around that. Those are minor enough characters. Wonder Woman, absolutely not. So I think this is for the best. Obviously, this could have been handled a lot better in the communication of it all. So yeah, we shall see if there are any more updates on that situation. And yeah, so last story of the day, we have some reactions for Blue Beetle. We're just gonna read through some of them. This guy Brandon Davis said, "The Blue Beetle movie is mostly a blast. Some is too silly or childish for me. A lot had me laughing out loud. George Lopez practical suit rocks. The Latino representation is awesome. Enjoyed the family-centric stakes, solid action beats. Overall, it's fun. Blue Beetle makes a solid debut on the big screen thanks to the stellar work of Jolo Maridueña, Angel Manuel Soto, and an incredibly strong cast. Bursting with heart and action from start to finish, Blue Beetle is a brave, bold, new hero for a new generation to look up to." Then this guy, Tasman, I don't know what it is. "Blue Beetle is a surprisingly emotional yet hilarious and exhilarating superhero blockbuster like no other. It's filled to the brim with heart, and Angel Manuel Soto has created a perfect celebration of Latino culture. Go see Blue Beetle, you won't be disappointed. Blue Beetle leaves you wanting to see more of this character and the Reyes. It is a self-contained story with solid action beats that's full of heart and centered around the support Jaime receives from his family, who are the driving force for everything he does." So, mostly, honestly, I haven't actually seen a negative reaction to Blue Beetle, but this is one of those situations where you kind of have to take some of these tweets with a grain of salt. We've seen some tweets like we saw tweets like this for The Flash. It's a fan screening. I'm not going to necessarily say that these guys are like paid off, but I don't know. I think that if you're in a situation like that, you're probably gonna come out of it a bit more positive. Like you're gonna be in a more positive mood, and especially when you're only limited to tweets, you know, that probably also limits to everything that you can say. So you probably are gonna focus on the positives of it. So I don't know. I'm not gonna say like, I'm not gonna take these tweets and be like, oh yeah, this movie's gonna be amazing. But there's no doubt about it that this is a good sign. So I the most negative thing we saw was that that Brandon Davis guy said the movie gets a bit too silly sometimes. That is one thing that I've been worried about. In the trailer you see that bit where like the grandma shoots a Gatling gun. I'm like, that's a bit too silly for me. I don't know. Feels a little bit too Spy Kids for me. But I don't know. I'm getting more excited for the movie. I'm not like losing my mind or anything, but I'm definitely interested to see it. I want to see Xolo Maridueña hopefully be a breakout star in this. I think he's awesome in Cobra Kai, and he's just an actor that I've been just rooting for. Like I want to see him succeed. So that is going to be it for Nerdy Movie News Roundup. Let me know what you think about any or all of the topics. I'm messing up the outro already. Let me know what you think about any or all of these topics in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.